Hey, gun people. Knocking out a couple crazy cop stories while I remembered them. So this one is about, this is where a DA tried to get me to lie on the stand. And I mean, is it lying? To me, it was lying. Again, omission of the truth is a lie. If you know the truth and you don't tell it when you're asked about it, then that's a lie in my book. Okay, you can't play, well, I didn't technically lie by the letter of the law because I really didn't tell a mistruth. I just said, I can't remember, I don't recall. So technically I didn't lie and say it didn't happen. I just said, I can't recall. To me, that's a lie. So when you go to court, when you're in doing a lot of arrests and you go to the court, in California they have what's called a prelim. In New York they use a grand jury. They don't do a preliminary hearing, they use a grand jury. But a prelim hearing is kind of like to say, this is the guy that committed a crime, we have probable cause to arrest him, I believe that this is the guy and a crime was committed and he probably did it. So after the prelim, the judge goes, held over for trial. So that's kind of what a prelim is. So we're going through a preliminary hearing and, you know, sometimes cases will take 6, 8 months, sometimes a year to get in there because the lawyer's sick or the guy gets in an accident or he gets arrested for something else or there's something, he cut a deal and then he broke the deal, so now they're doing it. So there's all kind of reasons for this to happen long after the crime occurred. So I can't remember the case on exactly what I arrested this guy for. I'm sure it was guns or drugs or something, gang related. And you know, when I arrest people, usually when I arrest them, they have no shirt on, they're tatted up, they've got their, you know, their colors on, they're wigged out, they look like shit, you know, they just look like freaking criminals when I arrest them. But 6, 8 months later when they come to court, especially if they've been in jail, they've either lost weight or put on weight. They're clean shaven. You know, public defenders have a room where they have jackets and suits and everything. So when they have a defendant come in, they go over there and pick you out a jacket and pick you out a nice shirt. Because they know most of the crooks don't have any of that and they don't want them to go to court in a t-shirt or with their gang colors on, kill the cops. So they go, dude, you can't wear that shirt about kill the cops in court. Go over here and pick out a nice striped shirt with a collar and put a jacket on. And so they dress their client up for the court hearing, and after the court hearing, they hang it back on the shelf for the next crook, for the next day, for the next week, next year. So when you see somebody in court several months later, they don't look the same. Well, one of the things about the preliminary hearing is they usually get the cop that's arrested you on the stand and you say, do you see the defendant or the person you arrested that night? And of course, there's only you, the attorney. This isn't like a big courtroom where a lot of people come to these. These are prelim hearings. Unless it's a big case, you'll have somebody there, but not normally. They're pretty empty. So there's usually the prosecutor and you, and then the defense, and then the suspect. And then the judge is up here. So when you're on the stand, the only person in the room that could be the suspect is a dude that's not the defense attorney and that's not the prosecutor. So by elimination, it's the guy sitting next to the public defender is a suspect. He's here for his prelim. So most cops just say, yeah, it's that guy, even if they can't recognize him. Well, I didn't like doing that. To me, that was lying. So when I was talking to the prosecutor before we go in there, he goes, okay, you got any questions? We're going to go through this. You know, they give you a quick briefing outside on what we're going to ask and make sure you don't surprise them. We just got to get this out, and here's what I'm going to ask you, and okay, and here's your answers. Okay, good, that's fine. So they do this little quick pre-brief, and he goes, okay, do you recognize the guy? You see him in court? Well, in this case, this guy didn't look anything like I arrested him. I mean, I was like, shit. I said, dude, I take a picture. I usually, when I arrest somebody, we have the old Polaroid. You take it, and he goes, and it prints out that little picture. And when I arrest somebody, I would usually snap a Polaroid and have that picture I'd have put in my report, because I knew when I went back to court, I'd have to look at this guy 6 months later, you know, 50, 100 arrests later, and I'm like, okay, this is the guy, yeah, I kind of remember him, that's his picture. Then I see him in court, and I go, okay, yeah, that's him. So I could recognize him. Well, in this case, this dude didn't look like any. I was like, man, I don't recognize. I said, is that the guy sitting next to the defense attorney? He goes, yeah. He goes, who else would he be? I said, well, I know it's him, but I said, it doesn't look like the guy arrested. He goes, well, it's him, believe me. And he goes, I'm just going to ask you if you recognize him, just point him out. I go, dude, I don't recognize him. He goes, man, you can't say that. I go, it's the truth. He goes, dude, he goes, if you say that, we're going to have to go through, it's a huge process. We're going to have to go back to booking. We're going to have to go through fingerprints. I'm going to have to get in that that's him through a different manner, and it's going to take, he goes, we're all going to have to come back. I'm going to have to re-subpoena you. So he starts trying this intimidation. I'm going to harass you just to get me, because that's what lawyers do. Prosecutors want their witnesses to say what they want. They don't want the truth. They want what will help their case. Now, I don't think this guy was trying to create some criminal conspiracy to get me to lie, but I just wasn't comfortable saying I recognize the guy when I didn't. So I wasn't going to say it. I got to stand up there and take an oath. I wasn't going to say I recognize him. So he goes, look, man. He goes, that's the guy, okay? And I go, look. I said, I assume it's him because he's sitting here, and I assume no one else will be here trying to defend themselves. So it's probably the guy, but I really don't recognize him. And he's like, damn, man, why are you making this so difficult? Suddenly it's my fault because I want to tell the truth that it's difficult. So he puts me on the stand, and we get up there, and he's like, you know what? We'll just try to get him in, and if he objects, then we'll do what we have to do. So he got kind of pissed off at me. I wasn't a team player. I was one of those cowboys that wanted to stick to that truth shit and follow your oath. And this happened on other occasions, little things like this. Again, I don't think the guy was trying to get me to lie to get some money. But to me, it's a principle of thing. We're supposed to be the good guys. We're supposed to be telling the truth. So I didn't want to do it. This is Sacramento. This was Sacramento DA. So he gets me on a stand. He goes, okay, I'll scrub by. So he goes, and do you recognize the defendant sitting over there, kind of like pointing him out? And I said, well, I assume that's him sitting there, but he didn't look like that the night I arrested him. The night I arrested him, he looked like blah, 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 blah. And the defense missed it. He should have objected and said, Your Honor, that's not a good definition. That's not a good identification. The officer just said he didn't recognize him. And he didn't. And I don't know if the prosecutor got to him, you know, when they do their little knuckle bump in the back room and said, hey, man, this cop's wishy-washy on identifying him. I'm going to have him identify him, but, you know, don't object because he's going to probably give some bullshit truth thing that he doesn't recognize the guy. So I don't know if they had this backdoor deal worked out. Frankly, I don't care. I said the truth. I was on the stand. I was like, that's not what he looked like when I arrested him that night. And I said I wouldn't recognize the same guy. I mean, I said something where it was pretty clear that I wasn't saying, that's the guy I arrested, I can identify him. I did not say that. And it didn't come off that way. But the defense either missed it or he had a backdoor knuckle bump deal with the prosecutor not to object, and he didn't object. And as soon as I said that, prosecutors go, well, okay, and what did he look like when you arrested him? I said, well, that night he was wearing this and that. Okay, and why did you contact him? And what did you find when you contacted him? What was your problem? So he went through all the legalities and went through the elements of the crime, basically. And I covered those, and he goes, okay, thanks a lot. And then the defense asked me a couple questions, and we moved on. The guy was held to answer. Held to answer means, yes, I think this is the guy, etc. But it would have been very easy for me to be a team player, to not be an obstructionist, to say, yeah, that's the guy. Because I'm sure it's the guy. They wouldn't. The court had to bring him in. He was in custody. The defense attorney isn't going to waste time in the court and piss everybody off by trying to sneak somebody else in. He would be charged with, you know, putting false information in front of the court or wasting the court. So the defense attorney knew that. So it's logical that the person sitting next to the defense attorney is a suspect. But the question to me as a cop on the stand is, do you recognize that guy as the guy you arrested? And the answer was, no, I don't recognize him. I say, if that's him, he did not look like that when I arrested him, and I would not recognize him. So, was that bad, good? I mean, there's going to be cops out there like, oh man, you're just making it difficult. Just go along with a program. Why are you giving the DA a hard time? It's all a game anyway. Nobody cares. He's still going to be held. He's still going to be... You know what? I'm the one that raised my hand and said I'll tell the truth. I didn't recognize him. I wasn't going to say it. So, you know, again, cops get caught up in this all the time. CPS will say, well, you know, they won't take kid in protective custody. And CPS will go, you know, we really don't have rooms, and we're really full, and if we take them, we're just going to give them back, so it's really going to be a waste of time. Why don't you just leave them here, and we'll do a 3-day follow-up? And most cops go, okay, I'll be a team player, just do a 3-day. And they leave a kid in a dangerous situation, and it's bullshit. And if the kid ends up dead, then everybody gets together, okay, well, I didn't leave him, the officer decided to leave him. So now they tell the officer, and the officer will be like, well, I wanted to take him, but they said they were going to give him back. And then they'll go, well, officer, if you say you were going to take him and you left him, then you're going to be charged for leaving him. So the cop's like, oh, shit, I don't want to be charged. So I'll be a team player and say, well, I didn't really think the danger was that bad. And then CPS will say, well, I didn't think it was that bad, and the officer didn't think it was that bad. So now we got our stories together, and none of us get charged or get in trouble. Meanwhile, there's a dead kid, and everyone feels good at the end of the night. I call bullshit. I didn't like it. I don't like it. I didn't like it then. I didn't participate in that shit, and it cost me promotions and other things. But you know what? It is what it is. You got to be who you want to be. All right, we'll end that there.